You're all good. Let me get the audio recording going on here.
I'll let you do your thing. Your housekeeping.
Yeah.
Welcome to Photography Chat with Merlin. Photography Chat with Merlin.
Welcome to another episode of Photography Chat. We're season 3, episode 43, and we've got Juan Martinez of Beers and Cameras with us here. And
Happy to be here.
already someone is asking, what does the B and C stand for?
What was that? Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Someone was asking, what does the B and C stand for?
What did it ask? Oh, BC stand for?
Yeah.
Beers and cameras, Phil. Come on, you know this.
Do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself to everyone here?
Yeah. So my name is Juan Martinez. I'm one of the founders of Beers and Cameras. I say one of the founders because Pachella Francisco. Oh, my buddy. He also started Beers and Cameras with me.
Okay.
He's kind of like the quiet one. I'm pretty quiet too, but yeah. So I'm here at a brewery, by the way, and I kind of warned you about this, Merlin.
Yeah,
So you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. Your connection's a little bit choppy, but
Right.
I can still hear you. It's just your video is kind of potato quality, but that's okay.
Let's switch it over to. I'm on their Wi-Fi, so the brewery has a Wi-Fi,
Okay.
and I thought that would be better, but I can maybe jump off of it. But let me know if it's still too choppy. I'll get off.
Your audio is good. That's all that matters.
Okay, cool. I got a question for you, actually.
Absolutely.
So who did your intro song?
The intro song is done by a local hip hop artist named Mocha Only.
Okay.
He's been in a bunch of like Canadian rap groups, but the one that he probably is most known for is Swollen Members.
Okay, I like it, and I just wanted to ask you. I don't know if anybody's asked you before, but
Yeah, I just for season 3, I decided to spend a bunch of money on this thing that makes me no money, and one of those things was paying for intro and outro music.
yeah, that's like still photography in general, right? You spend a ton of money, and the ROI is not that great typically.
Yeah, and speaking about spending a ton of money, I understand you just came back from Germany for the Leica M6 launch.
I did, yeah. That was quite special time. I think I should preface this with I actually was invited, so I did have help getting there, if you will, from Leica. So it wasn't all out of my pocket, luckily, because that would be very expensive indeed.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's a little bit perspective, but yeah, it was amazing. Big Head Taco, you know Taka KO, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Him and I got to go. We went last year, so we were really, 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 really humbled that we got to go again. We were like, okay, you really want us to come again, and it worked out, and we got to go again and meet mostly all new folks. Jason, Stock Easy was there, and some other ones were there last year, but it's incredible. I definitely want to bring the DNC community to Wetzlar one day, and there's an opportunity for that too. So
Oh, that's cool.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I saw the good homie Ray Barbie was there, which is cool because he shoots a Leica M6 religiously.
Yeah. And you've interviewed him, hung out with him, you know him well. He was there. He is so well. I don't need to tell you how nice he is. How chill. Yeah.
Easily one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. Like, so such a nice guy.
100%. Yeah. And so, I mean, I used to skate. I used to watch it in videos and whatnot. And so seeing, sometimes when you meet your heroes, you're kind of disappointed. But I was like, nah, he's rad. Like, he's so cool.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. He's just like one of those cats that gets finer with age.
Yeah. Laid back and just like never, he's no, yeah, he was just so cool. So it was cool to hang out with him and hang out with a lot of people. It's like so many people. Kind of pinched myself really that I was even there, but it was such a good opportunity. And I'm just going through all the files. I took a lot of film and digital. I actually got, what's weird, I got all my film back already. And I'm still going through my digital photos for my trip. So
that's not weird though, because like that's why I started shooting film in the first place. Was
yeah,
I was able to turn around my film faster than I can do digital work because I hate editing. And it's like when you do digital, you shoot so much more.
True.
Yeah.
I think but it's not often that I'm able to turn around like film photos quicker than digital, because I'm pretty fast, like a pretty, I want to say fastidious, but I don't even know if that's the correct term. And my wife lets me like, sit on the computer and get my stuff done, and I'm still not done. Like I just take too many photos, I think.
That happens.
And the director Mud really knocked out of the park and got my film back and my scans back, and really happy with those. And that trip to Leica though, I don't think it's what people expect, Marlon.
No, I don't think so either. Like,
Yeah,
because I've just seen what Taco has like shared from like last year and like some of the snippets from this year, and it looks incredible.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest takeaways in something that I had mentioned to Karan in Leica was you feel kind of elevated there. If that makes any sense. You're surrounded by such amazing people, and the energy, and like everybody's like, I don't want to sound like hippie, but you're like vibrating at a certain frequency that everybody's like really just happy to be there. We're all about the brand. We all respect Leica too, so it kind of, we're all just on this path together, and you feel elevated. You feel better. I felt better than I really am. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I can do this. Like I don't know. I can create. I can document. It was very cool, and they don't talk about specs there.
Oh, okay.
So even though they released like the M6, last year they released I think it was a Q2 reporter. You don't hear about it when they talk about photography and you go on the tours and stuff. They don't talk about what camera takes the photos. When they talk about they discuss the Lobo Award winners, the Leica Oscar Barnack Award winners. They don't discuss what they shot it on. It's like truly about photography. And I think they don't get enough credit for that. Like if you actually experience their event, it's not about an expensive camera. It's not about, pushing like, I don't know, try to get you, buy the SL2S or something like that. It's not. It's about photography. 100%.
Not to say that the SL2S is not a fantastic camera, and if you have the money and the means and you want to get into vlogging and take great pictures, the Leica SL2S is a fantastic camera to do that with.
Right. Yeah, no, it is. We have one right here on this cool strap. It's my favorite SL camera for sure over the SL2. But it's just, I've been to other, I haven't been to a lot, not like Take or anything, but I've been to a few events, and it's way more about like the specs and like the new camera. And there it's like, it's about photography and documenting and like the history and what inspires you to shoot, and fostering the community there. So it's, if anybody can go to, Life Park, Westlar, I definitely recommend it. If you could get on a tour, definitely recommend it. Definitely very cool.
So what was your favorite part out of the whole thing?
My favorite part, honestly, I like to meet new people, and I think one of my favorite parts was just being surprised by who's there and meeting them and getting to have coffee with them in a bunch of just casual moments of like Ray, that's like my favorite. That's my favorite part, really. It's like being immersed, walking around the grounds, which are vast. At this particular event, we had like a Japanese, group. I was part of the USA group, and running into the different groups and like talking and like seeing what they're shooting and just discussing, and everybody's got a smile on their face. And the dinners are really fun, but it's like this really candid. It's all the stuff that's not like pushing the brand on you or pushing specs on you. It's just like the community aspect, for sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What was the most unexpected thing that you took away from your trip over there?
The most unexpected thing? I don't know. Like, what surprised me the most? Well, so I actually knew that M6 was coming, so that wasn't quite so surprising. But I don't know. It's surprising that Leica's making an M6 again, and not to like talk about that necessarily, unless you want to. But that was surprising. That's a good question. I don't think I was. I don't know. Yeah, I think actually what was surprising was who was invited from the USA group that I got to meet in person. I didn't know who was coming, so that was surprising.
So which people?
So Stefan Vanasco came, and Pete Halverson. So folks that I follow that I actually had no clue were going to be there. So finally, like, you know, just from like a profile picture, be like, wait, that's you. Like, I follow you. You know, like I know you. And then seeing them in person and just getting to hang out with them was pretty surprising, I guess.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Next time we got to get you there.
I mean, I would be opposed to it, but I got to buy a Leica first. Otherwise, I'll just be a poser.
You know, what's crazy is though, they actually do the Leica Oscar Barnick Award, and you win up to like 80,000 euro, and you don't have to shoot it. You don't have to win it with the Leica either. So,
oh shit!
Yeah, that's like a little. I don't think they market that as well as they could.
Well, because they probably don't want a bunch of people without Leicas submitting.
Maybe, but like
you're letting the cat out of the bag.
Like last year's winner, I actually had to ask him, like, hey, by the way, because you didn't discuss it at all during your speech or any of the talks, like, what did you shoot that on? What did you shoot your project on? It was a Q2. But again, that's like what is surprising. I think maybe, okay, sorry, if I can go back to your question before, what's the most surprising thing? Which I wasn't so surprised this time around because I went last time. But what was initially surprising about this Leica trip or the Leica trips is that they don't talk about the gears. I think that's like surprising. You go, you know, it's a camera manufacturer that isn't like jamming, you know, their products down your throat in the typical way that you might expect them to.
That's pretty cool.
It's surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, I've never been to Germany before, so it's on like the checklist of places to go. So and I think Take's still over there right now for like a few more days.
Crazy. I think so, maybe a few more days, maybe less than a week, probably. Yeah.
It's
beautiful.
Man.
I mean, it's like I had only been there last year, and then I went this year, and I went to Berlin last year, and this time I went to Munich, and completely different vibe and town, and it definitely, I like Europe. Like, taking trains to get anywhere you want to go. We took a train to Salzburg, and it was like a 2-hour train ride. I live in San Diego, so the nearest country I can visit is Mexico, right? But like we're just not used to that. Like, you know, when you live in Vancouver, I guess you could take. Is there a train to Seattle?
Oh yeah, there's an Amtrak. Like I could take it all the way to Los Angeles if I really wanted to punish myself.
Yeah. But I think that's very cool about Europe. You can take a train to Paris, you can take a train to Copenhagen, you can take a train to like anywhere you want to go. So.
Yeah, they have a bit of like they have a little bit of an extra bonus with that though, because their countries are a lot smaller. Like, yeah, you look at the landmass that we've got here in Canada and the U.S. and like it's hard to have a train system that's palatable for people because it's like, you know, you'd have to spend a considerable chunk of time on the train to get across Canada or the U.S. I mean, I've always wanted to check it out. Like, one day I'll try the Amtrak.
Yeah, I've actually never taken. I've never taken the Amtrak here. I've only taken the trolley here in San Diego like once when I was in elementary school. But it's just so normal and so efficient in Europe. You take trains and subways and stuff. Like, I don't know, pretty amazing.
Antonio Rosario has a question. Is it acceptable to say that acquiring/inquiring different film gear is necessary to refine your shooting process? What feels best to you and which gear gives you results you desire, etc.? What do you think of that?
I think you'll agree with this, and I think most people would, that like different gear, like an SLR versus a rangefinder, forces you to shoot differently. And I think that shapes how you how you compose your image and how you approach a situation. And having a camera with like autofocus or strictly manual focus definitely changes. You're aware of it, so you're like, oh, I gotta be ready. I gotta like anticipate more. With autofocus, you're still doing the same, but you're kind of letting the camera take that part over. Shooting SLR versus a rangefinder is completely different. Shooting through a Hasselblad with the not parallax corrected image on your screen versus like one that is parallax corrected is how you shoot too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, if I compare it to like driving a car, it's like driving stick and then driving an automatic and driving an SUV and then driving like a sports car on a track and then driving a sports car in traffic. Like it's all different, right? It's like different ways to get from point A to B, but it totally changes your experience along the way.
Yeah, I think ultimately it depends on what you want to be shooting, and that'll kind of dictate what kind of camera you might want to look at. Like if you're going to do a bunch of street photography, then an 8x10 or 11x14 is probably not like the move for that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it could give you a cool like look or whatever, but you might want to look at like a rangefinder and use zone focus or like nice autofocus camera so you can like get that stuff. It all depends, and like budget and stuff too. Like whenever people ask me what the best camera is, I mostly just say, well, how much money do you have? Just spend that on a camera and see what you get. And you don't have to buy the most expensive camera. Like, save some money for film because, that's where all your money's going to go.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't matter what camera you shot it on, right? It's like what film you shot, that's gonna really dictate the way your film looks or your image looks, and then whether it's exposed properly, and then the lens that you shot it on. That's it, really. Other than that, you can't tell the difference. If it's shot on M3, M6, M7, the new M6 versus the old M6, like all that stuff was out the window. Canonette, and then of course 120 would change the way it looks, but then again, that's your film, right? So that makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, and also there's nothing wrong with shooting digital.
Yeah,
I still shoot a ton of digital, mostly when I don't really care about it. But where is it here? Someone said, hot take, spent more money on lenses and books / exhibition visits than cameras. That's a way to go with it though, honestly, because like the lens is where the magic is. Like yeah, because like you can go out and buy the brand new M6 and be like, oh my god, I don't have any money left to buy lenses, and then you just go buy some like fucking rando lenses off of Amazon to slam on your M6 because you're broke. You're gonna get potato pictures out of your new fancy M6. Yeah.
Yeah, but you also don't have to buy Leica lenses. I mean,
no, you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't. Definitely Voigtlander, the new Voigtlander stuff's amazing, and the old Voigtlander stuff's amazing, and even the new Leica stuff is they elevate the character of like the new 35 Simulux, right? The steel rim. It's soft, wide open. It's ghosty. other manufacturers, like if a TT artisan made that lens, they'd be like, and you review that lens, you're like, oh gosh, it's soft and ghosty, wide open, and it's almost like a con. But because Leica says it, it's like a pro. It's really the way you look at it, and with with like what you're trying to shoot, right? So use that for more like images that are capturing like moments and feel versus like critical IQ perfection. Then you would probably shoot medium format, and or you shoot you could argue you could shoot digital and you could like really tweak it and make it perfect the way you want, low, with no grain and stuff. So it's a huge part of that for sure.
I like this comment. It says, quote, "Real king of bokeh. Sounds like a new COVID variant, not gonna lie."
Yeah. It's true though, that particular lens, so I did get to play with it at Wetzlar, and it's kind of like a 35 Noctilux to me. So to me, like really the images I got, I was like, wow, okay. But then again, I had a 50 Noctilux and an F1, the version 4, and actually sold it kind of by accident because it was up on our marketplace and somebody bought it, and I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, holy shit, somebody gave me what I wanted for it. But then it was like kind of a heartbreak to let it go, and I package it up and send it off. But when I actually did comparisons with like more modern lenses, like you get such better IQ out of them. And so this new 35 gives the vibes of like a Noctilux lens, right? It's not like super, super sharp, but it's sharp enough. And the fall off is amazing, and it's creamy background. So to me, it's like a Noctilux 35.
That's cool.
Yeah, really cool lens, and it's really compact and built really well. I'm not sold 100% on that infinity lock on it, which a lot of us discovered when we were playing with it. We're like, what the hell? Why doesn't it work? And we didn't realize there was like an infinity lock on it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So if you put an infinity, it locks out. You got to like press on it to move it over, like some of the older like lenses.
Weird.
And probably like the original, but I didn't actually have the original there to compare it to. Yeah.
I've never owned a Leica lens, but I do have a Voigtlander lens for a Leica camera because I was borrowing a friend's M3 for like a year, and I got like a little sketched out of like, well, what if because he had a Summicron on it, and I'm like, well, what if I fuck up the Summicron? Like, I don't want to replace it, so I ended up buying a Voigtlander 50mm 1.1 Noctilux, and that thing was really cool.
1.1?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a huge chunk of glass.
Nocton, right?
Yeah, Nocton, yeah.
Because you said Nocton.
Sorry, you were talking about Noctilux, and yeah, it's the Nocton. And the thing's huge. Like, it's like a beefy hunk of glass and metal, but it takes cool photos.
Yeah, that's actually the first Beers and Cameras lens. So it was that lens with Sony A7S camera.
Oh, wow.
That a lot, like if you scroll down the 4,000 or some odd photos we have, 5,000 photos we have, which is a lot, which I've actually contemplated like going back and deleting a lot of stuff. I don't know, I can ask you what you feel about that. But if you scroll back years ago, Sony A7S, Nocton f1.1, yeah.
So I've got like almost 8,000 photos, and a few years back when I was around 4 or 5, I thought about cleaning it up, and then it just takes a lot of time to scroll through and go through it, and I was just kind of like, fuck it, I'm just gonna leave it. Like, I don't care, because it's like an archaeological dig, because like for this account, it started as my personal account like 12 years ago. Like, it was 6 months after Instagram launched, I got an Instagram account. So like, if you scroll all the way back, it's like photos of my dogs and like my ex-wife and like food and travel, and then it kind of progressed into what it is now. And I was just like, whatever, I don't have the effort or time or care to curate it, so I just leave it alone.
That's a good point. I mean, it would take a lot of work to delete 3,000 photos to make it like 2,000, which is still like a lot. And I like seeing like this random like on an old photo, because somebody's like looking through a hashtag for Sony A7S or something like that, or a Nocton 35 1.4, and them liking an image from like years ago. Cool.
Well, and I also kind of like it too, because it lends a little bit of permanence in the world that we live in now that is absolutely temporary all the time. Like people are always deleting and curating and changing things to like fit whatever they're feeling, and it doesn't leave much for like any history or like, you know, past. So
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea too. Like it's neat. I timed it one time. I think when I was around 6,000 posts, it takes like 5 minutes of like constant scrolling to get to the bottom of the feed.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, 5 minutes solid of just that like it's
Oh, that's
that's
a lot. 5 minutes in modern times is like a lifetime.
It felt like an eternity. I was like, is my finger gonna fucking fall off? Like, goddamn.
You get a callus on it.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's a good point. I like that. I like that permanence and that kind of history. This provenance to this account, right? You can go back and see what they used to do. You can see the community that used to come years ago, and people that have moved away and aren't showing up anymore. And if you really did a dig, one thing that I do, and it's probably stupid of me, but like I don't repost the same image twice.
Okay.
So, which is, it kind of bites me in the ass, because sometimes that, like, an image would be better served like a St. Patrick's Day, but I used it like on a non-St. Patrick's Day. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but no, I already used it, so I don't use it again. But we have 5,000 or whatever photos we have, they're all pretty much unique. Like if you go back, I think I even did like a little competition. Like if you can find a repetition of a photo, you get a free T-shirt or a hat. And I think one person found something that was pretty close to repetition. But yeah, I think that's kind of cool too.
That is cool.
Once and it's done. Yeah.
I've duplicated a few by accident.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It was just something, yeah.
Yeah, it happens. So yeah. I'm kind of curious, like, how did you get started with beers and cameras? Like, where did that get birthed at?
So, going back. Yeah, so I think it was just me. I met up with Pachola Francisco, who's one of the founders, and I bought a lens off of him. We met up at a Starbucks. And then, like a weirdo, I kept it, since Craigslist. I bought a lens off of him or something. And then I met him at a Starbucks, and we started talking about, like, I think Fuji lenses and stuff. And then I after we like went our separate ways, I kept messaging him like, hey, like, I love this lens, or like, here's a sample of what I took with it. And I kind of like developed that, and we just talked back and forth. And then we meet up at Starbucks, to be honest with you, randomly. And then I bought a house in North Park, San Diego, kind of like a hipster area. And we had, at that point, a couple friends kind of meeting up with us. It wasn't just me and Pacholo. And then one of them was into beer. So we moved it to beer and breweries. And it made sense because, honestly, like, we're in the hipster kind of like brewery area of San Diego. And then I made an Instagram post or Instagram account for it. And I actually did it reversed. Like, we were calling it cameras and beer. But when I did it beers and cameras by kind of accident to match the email account that I had made, because I flipped it around by accident. But anyway, so I created the Instagram account, and then I text everybody that had come to that meetup, and I'm like, hey, share your photos on here. Here's the login information, like, here. And nobody did. And then so I think Pacholo was like, you go ahead and post, like, I'll help you find it, but like, if you're, just whatever, I don't want to post. So I kind of just took it. I just kept going with it, and I changed the password on it, and then yeah, that's it. And then I kind of advertised that, like, photos from our last meetup on there, and then more people came and invited people to the next one, and then just kind of went from there. But I mean, overall, frankly, I think people meet up at breweries and coffee shops all the time, so it's not like we invented something at all. Mm-hmm. I think we were very consistent with it, which is what made it different for San Diego. And then when we got other chapters, they were more consistent. And then, of course, COVID hit. Yeah. And then it threw, like, we're like an online forum, but in person type of thing, right? So we're not online strictly. We're like in person, and take that aspect away from it. And what are you left with? So COVID kind of sucked for everybody, but it kind of sucked for me too.
Well, yeah, because we were going to work on a Toronto chapter, and then COVID like happened like right when all of that shit was going down, and so it went from being like, oh, we're gonna be in a venue to now it's got to be a fucking Zoom call. And
right, and it just doesn't. It was never the intent for it to be Zoom. It was never the intent for it to be not in person.
Yeah.
And I think everybody that comes, they get a lot out of like bringing a physical camera. You know, like when you hang out with your friends and meeting up with them and like discussing it and swapping lenses and like actually physically interacting with the gear and the people and physically drinking a beer, not at home, but like a fresh one from a brewery.
Mm-hmm.
Way different vibe. So it doesn't translate well to Zoom, I think.
And Photo Tango wonders, do you monetize beers and cameras?
No, I mean, no. I wish, like, yeah. Some people actually think this is my only job somehow. It's not. Like, I work for the government as a program manager, like completely different. What I do Monday through Friday is not at all what I do on my phone. Like this passion project, I think you would describe it as.
Yeah. Makes sense. And Street Documents wants to know, when is the next event?
I don't know what city. I think I'm trying to look at San Diego probably. That's a good, so we used to do every 2 weeks rain or shine in San Diego. Like if I called in sick for work, I'm getting bit by mosquitoes, by the way, so I'm like scratching. If I call in sick for work, I'd show up at that BNC that night and get everybody sick, right? No, I'd show up. Like, you know, you're too sick for work, but you're not too sick to hang out with your friends, right?
Yeah.
So it's rain or shine every 2 weeks. Then COVID hit in San Diego, and then that changed. In LA, they were on like a pattern of like 3 to 4 weeks, every 3 to 4 weeks or so. And different chapters had different meetup schedules. Probably like once a month was pretty average. For San Diego, frankly, coming from COVID where we didn't meet up at all, and like every Thursday, I'm a dad. I've got like 3 kids, and like every Thursday I'm at home with my family. Part of it was kind of like refreshing, like, wow, okay, you know, because it takes a lot of work to meet up. It takes a lot of work to plan events. So we're trying to bring that back, and I think we're trying to get on like a 3-week schedule every 3 weeks. And we're hoping to make every event a little bit more robust. Like it's not just meeting up at a brewery, but it's meeting up at a brewery and a print swap, meeting up at a brewery, and we have like new products to share, meeting up at a brewery or bar, and we have like a local camera store bringing like gear or something, which takes more planning. But I think that by not having it so often, I can better plan the event. And my hope is to actually, before 2023 starts, so before January, and definitely sometime this month, is to plan out the whole year of Beers and Cameras events in San Diego for the whole year. And then those are the dates you can count on, and then we'll advertise like added dates and added events on top of that.
Oh,
I think
that's cool.
Yeah, LA did that when they started. Adamowski did a really good job the first year or two of like planning way ahead and then sticking to that. And I think that really helped them go from the community they started with to the community they have now in LA. It's really grown quite a bit and pretty. I like, admire that community there. So I think consistency. Going back to that, consistency makes a difference.
Consistency is definitely good when you're trying to build something.
Right? Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? I did have a question. There's like a sort of like a looming air around some of the chapters that Beers and Cameras is kind of like a focused group of just like, you know, dudes that own like Leicas and X-Pans.
Leicas, yeah. Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. No idea. The deep part, I mean, if I look at our insight, you know, you look at your account and like who follows you and stuff. It's mostly men, you know, for sure. We do get women that come out. I always admire when women come out. We had that meetup in Berlin last year, and with Safe Life Berlin and Take and Samuel Lintaro and Jason was there, and we had well over 100 people, and it was like half and half in Berlin. But for them, it's like a new thing, and they were really like eager to meet up in person after COVID and stuff. So it brought out like everybody. I wish we had more women that come out. At the same time, I kind of understood, perhaps I can kind of justify why they wouldn't. Generally speaking, if I'm going to be like stereotyping women and stereotyping men. But the fact that we have Leicas and that we have Hasselblad X cams and stuff is just, it's a group of folks. We have a lot of, professional people that have expendable money and they buy cool shit. I don't know how to say it. And I happened to, during COVID, post a lot of my own stuff on social media because we weren't meeting up, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the gears and stuff that I posted was just my own collection of stuff, and it happens to be a lot of Leica stuff because I'm a Leica fan. It doesn't mean I only like Leica, but that's just kind of what I use, right? So that's what's around me, and that's what I'm sharing. But it's not a Leica only club by far, and I think we work hard we do provide a service to folks that have this like Leica snobbery thing, to see who actually owns the Leicas and hold them in person and be like, oh, okay, they're not all like, this way.
Mm-hmm.
They actually shoot their stuff. And they've sold a bunch of stuff to get to the point, and they've saved up to get their M6, and they've made sacrifices, and they're struggling just like I am. They just made different choices with their money, let's say, or invested in different things, right? So I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, that totally answers it.
I get it.
It's just an interesting thing because there's that like sort of guy with camera trope that also usually is like guy with like a camera trope, and I've heard it from like at events sometimes people thinking it's just like the Leica club kind of thing. So I was curious about that.
It's not. It doesn't help that like as one of the founders, I love Leica, and I actually didn't care for Leica in the beginning. Like I said, I had a Sony NEX6, I've had the NEX5, all these little micro, these mirrorless cameras, the A7S, which was like the bread and butter with that Nocton that you have lens, and I shot so like years of it. And then Piccolo, actually, we can blame Piccolo probably. He was a Leica guy. He brought the Leicas and he spent the money. And when I first picked up his M9 monochrome, or the first monochrome, I guess is what it's called, I was so like confused that you would choose a rangefinder over like my A7S with like live view and this what you see is what you get kind of photography. And his was like, no. You line up these patches and like whatever's lined up is what's in focus, and your exposure is like manual or automatic. But I mean, it's a very different way of shooting, and I like disregarded it at first. I was like, here, you can take your camera back. So I definitely was won over by Leica and the way of shooting, just by like being exposed to it and like being open-minded about it.
Yeah.
And realizing, getting my first like rangefinder and realizing how it changed the way I shot and I documented my family, which is mostly what I do. And that kind of just like snowballed, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I never really understood the whole Leica thing until my friend loaned me his M3, and I appreciated him doing it. It was an M3 double stroke, beautiful camera. But like I'd already loved rangefinders. Like I've had a couple of Zorkis. I got a Texas Leica that I absolutely adore. So I love rangefinders, and I was just like, whatever. Like Leica's just really expensive rangefinder. But then I used it, and I was like, fuck, this is nice. Like
it's nice. Yeah.
I'm like, I understand this now, and fuck, now I want to like spend all this money on one. Maybe one day. I'm still paying a Deerdorf off, so that it'll be a while before I move into a Leica.
Well, and you can move into Leica with the CL, right? You can move into Leica with Mini Lux. Well, Mini Lux has gone up too. But I mean, that's not Leica's fault that there's this like secondary market that's really strong with the brand and a lot of like allegiance and advocates for it. But it's honestly because it works. Like I can tell you from a digital perspective, I've owned the Lumix S1, the S1R, okay? And they're basically, people will compare them to like the SL2, SL2S. Like they kind of, like you expect it to be the same camera as the Lumix, the Leica to be the same, but when you actually own both cameras, you realize like no. Like I think they share a lot of technology, but I had a lot of firmware issues with my Lumix cameras, with all of them. I had my LCD screen where like the cursor was jamming itself in a corner, and I couldn't overcome it. I couldn't move the cursor to the middle or anywhere I wanted. Like it just was like the LCD screen had an issue, and that happened on 3 cameras. I had an issue with EVF, and then I moved over to like SL2S. Nothing, like amazing, just works great, just like my original SL. Like I didn't have any glitches or issues, but I had those with the other cameras, right? So I could kind of see like if you're doing like I did a wedding and I literally had to take the battery out, reset it, and I'm still having an issue. And I'm doing a wedding, which I don't usually shoot, so I was stressing out already, and then I have my gear failing me, you know. And yet, if I would have had the SL2 version of it, it would have been fine, and I wouldn't have had that stress. So, what is that worth to you? You know, you could probably put a number to it, like I'll deal with this for a certain amount, but it could also be kind of worth like invaluable, or not invaluable, but like priceless to have your gear just work when you need it to.
No, that invaluable I think is the right word for
is that
that
it?
thing.
Okay, invaluable sounds like it's not valuable, but yeah.
No, it's very, very valuable.
Okay.
Yeah, like you can't function without it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And you mentioned the M3, and if you think about the history of Leica stuff, it went from the 3G. So you're familiar with like the Oscar Barnett cameras, like the 3S, the 3G, to the M3, and that jump, I think, is not talked about enough. Like that's such a huge leap in like loading the camera, the ease of use. That M3 is basically what every other camera since then was, like M4, M6, and they're basically an M3. Okay, sure, different frame lines and stuff. Okay, you added a meter, but that's it. It's like the same size, same build, or actually the M3 is better built than like the M6, not the brand new M6, but the one before. So that's kind of to me kind of I have an M3, and I disregarded it before, and then I played with a friend of mine, and he was selling it, and I'm like, God damn it, why did I pick this up? Like it felt amazing. It felt so smooth. It was the right price, and it's one of my favorite cameras now. The M3, and I have an M3 and an M7, and I think I capture both, a really modern rangefinder, and I capture like the essence of a rangefinder, meterless and like made out of brass and like 1950s build, and then the M7 like made out of brass, but with aperture priority and meter and all the DX coding, DX reading stuff. So kind of like the two, to me, pinnacles in my opinion.
Yeah, with the M3, I like the double stroke a lot. Like if I was ever gonna get one, I'd want to find a double stroke.
Well, what is that actually? I'm curious.
I don't know, just something about the feel of like the two rapid movements versus like one big long one.
Yeah.
Because like with the single stroke, you have that like fucking gnarly long advance arm on it. And just also like it's something I like from the Texas Leica, and so it was just like because the M3 did that, I was like I kind of dig this too. And the build,
actually the Pen F does that too, right?
Yeah,
the Pen F half frame.
Yeah, that one does that too. And I really like. I've seriously thought about getting an M3, but then I also wanted to try and find something so that I could use like 35mm frame lines without goggles. But I don't really like the M2 very much.
Why don't you like the M2?
I don't know. It just seems like chintzy compared to the M3.
Yeah.
Like
I agree with you, but I actually can't really explain it either. I don't know. If you have an M3 and you have an M2, I think it really just comes down to the counter window.
Yeah, that it makes it look cheap.
Yeah, how much more would it have really cost them to just include the actual window versus the little thing you got to reset manually or whatever?
Because that was what always pissed me off with Barnox is like the fucking dial thing.
Yeah.
they're like, let's just bring the dial back on the M2 because we probably have a bunch. Maybe they had a bunch of dials left. Like maybe that's it.
Maybe.
Who knows? But they are nice cameras, and I understand why people enjoy them. Like, they work really well, and I like a lot of my favorite photographers shoot like M4s, M6s, M3s, and I can see why, because like they work well. And like Mike Padua just put out a really good I think it was like a reel or like YouTube short or something.
One or the hyper focus.
Well, there's the Sunny 16 one, but then there's the zone focus one.
Zone focus one.
Yeah, and I never really understood that completely well until he laid it out there. I'm like, oh fuck, it's so simple. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. And Mike's amazing. I love Mike.
Yeah, Mike's great.
Yeah, he gave us a bunch of photo memos to give away at in Berlin. So I took like a good 7 or 8 pounds of photo memos to give away to the people at West Point when I went to the Leica event.
Nice.
But me and Taki did a good job giving it to the right people and people that appreciated it. But Mike's a great person, and yeah, actually I don't shoot street. Like, I just suck. I don't see what people see. I just don't. Like, I'm amazed at street photographers. Pacello, for instance, one of the founders, he's definitely a really good street photographer and just documentarian and thing. I get the documenting your family stuff, but I just don't. I don't do a good job with like street photography. And when I was on this trip, I did more of it with Take as like a tourist. I could do that. You know what I mean? And I did a lot of the zone focusing with the 28 F2 Ultra, the new one from Voigtlander, like and that lens is just amazing. And put an F8, F11, and just like zone focus, and I got really good results. I think really good results. So I don't usually shoot that way. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There were also a couple of comments here from there's one from NK Winston said, "Hi, lady here. I definitely come to LA, or I definitely come LA based. Guys are easier to connect with, and I have more things in common." And then there's another one here. SPS Pick said, "Lady Beers and Cameras fan here, and she likes to come down to San Diego, but also likes the LA events."
Yeah.
On that question, like, is there anything that you guys have thought or tried to put together to make events more appealing or more inclusive to women or like non-binary folks?
So I think I have discussed this. It's not an issue or this characterization of BNC being like men only or mostly men with the folks that come regularly, and we like to keep it simple, to be honest with you. So there are events and meetups that are they bring models out and lighting and all this kind of stuff. There's events that are hosted by camera stores and they Sammy's or something. Ours is very like, because of this not being my full-time job and all the leads working for free and just wanting to do it because they love the community aspect of it, we got to keep it simple. And it's like, we're meeting at a brewery or at a bar, and the general consensus is like, people will bring their cool stuff with them, and you're going to shoot photos and talk about cameras, and that's it. So we don't necessarily do anything on purpose to exclude women, because women could bring their cameras, and they do. We do get, Starla, she was just here. She's one of the OGs, and she was here. She moved away, and we had a special meetup just on a Sunday because she was in town. So we definitely like aren't like, I have 2 daughters and I'm married. Like, it's not against women at all, but at the same time, it's like, this is the simple ingredients of it. We're all going to meet up at a brewery basically, and we're all just going to bring your gear and shoot and talk cameras. And if that appeals to you, whether you're a woman, male, non-binary, they, them, whatever you want to say, unicorn, then cool, come. And we do get a lot of people that come by themselves, and like, we try to do a job of like saying, hey, you're a new face, and then somebody coming in, like introducing themselves and saying, what do you shoot? What do you like to shoot? What are you having? Type of thing. As far as trying to bring in more females, I do a little bit. I tried that with having photos of my wife up, because she shoots photos, and trying to share her story a little bit more. Totally open to suggestions. If you have any suggestions that as in you, Merlin, if you have anything that we can do differently. We're not like a feature page though, so that's the thing, right? We're not necessarily like going, posting about different. We can maybe do some of that. Maybe that would help. But yeah, I don't know. We're kind of at a loss because we're very simple ingredients and we just want to keep it simple. So if we could work around that to bring in different people, that works. Open to do it for sure.
Yeah, like I didn't ask the question from a place of like, this is boys only club, no girls allowed kind of thing. But it was just more of like inclusivity and all of that are becoming more frequent topics in the last few years, given things. And so I was just curious because like the photography world is a very like male dominated world, just as it has been for a really long time. And it is really cool, though, to start seeing more female and non-binary creatives doing really awesome things because it's cool to see less of the male gaze on the grams than there has been before. So I was just curious, like, if you guys were thinking of anything to like, sort of, not necessarily specific, but to just sort of like throw in the mix to welcome more diversity into the group, to just like make people feel comfortable. Because I think in other places that I've worked on where we're trying to like build community and build groups, there's always a discomfort from non-cis male people and also people of color where like if they see a group that has a lot of like cis males and a lot of white people there's like a lot of discomfort around that. And so it's like I've been on committees where it's like, how do we make this more comfortable? And it's like,
well, in San Diego actually we have a huge Filipino community and Japanese, and a lot of the folks that come to the meetups are actually that. Like, I've done little one-off meetups where I just want to talk to certain groups of people, and it's not on purpose, but just the people I invite to ask questions to kind of get their input. I'm like, oh, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm the only Latino here, and I don't even think of it that way.
Yeah.
My friends from like high school and middle school that I'm still in contact with and whatnot, they joke like, oh, you're gonna go hang out with your Filipino friends. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, beers and cameras, it's all like Filipinos. Like, oh, I guess. Like, it's not that I don't see ethnicity. I just see them as a photographer and part of the community. I just don't even care. So we don't have the problem of like too many white males. If that's a problem to even say, that's not our demographic in San Diego. We have a pretty good mix. We just don't have a lot of females that come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would love and open to their input if there's ones that want to, DM me and send me like what we can do differently or something. Definitely want to be inclusive. We don't try to get too political either. Like, it's pretty vanilla. And I think we need to keep it that way just because, we're not like a political Instagram or a community. We're just photographers that want to meet other photographers at a brewery. And, I don't know. That's it.
So Photo Tango said, can you find a space for beers and camera people to exhibit their photos every so often, taking the photography to a final stage? That could actually be an interesting way also to encourage, more women there, where you could do like maybe like women of beers and cameras photo exhibition or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's a good. We've done exhibitions before actually where I'm at. Hard to see, but if you look across the street, which is probably not going to work well, there's a Bluefoot Smoke and Go. I'm at this Modern Times Brewery. At that next to Smoke and Go, where I kind of pointed at, is Bluefoot, and that's a bar where we had a photo exhibition years ago actually, and it was amazing. And we had a photo exhibition at Tiger in North Park, San Diego.
Oh, your audio just dropped off.
And I agree. I think the photo exhibition, Bring Your Prints, is like a huge thing. And people, if organized properly and with enough, like just like planning time for people to choose a photo and get it printed, it works really well. We're actually doing something with Leica Gallery in LA.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that's coming up in February. So, which reminds me, I got to reach out to Paris there. It is a Leica event, but you don't have to be Leica. It doesn't have to be shot on a Leica. But we're actually inviting people. We're going to invite people to bring prints to that. And then we're going to have like some folks choose a print, and then we're going to auction it off, or maybe auction off quite a few of the prints for like a not a charity, but like a medical. We're trying to do like a Galentine's Day, like a friendship kind of like event.
Okay.
So that's actually coming up. Women and female influencers or like YouTubers or people in the community to invite. Like we did a Joshua Tree event last year, and we're gonna do a second one. And I'm probably too early to be talking about this, but that's in the works again. And
That's
we're
cool.
super stoked to do stuff like that. So I think with our well-planned events, we do definitely take that into consideration. It's with the weekly events that are like, or bi-weekly or every 3 weeks events. That's just like, very casual, come wherever you want. But yeah, we definitely want to do more print stuff and invite people to share their work.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you should come down. You got to come down for the.
I definitely will. Like the Joshua Tree one, I found out about it too late. I would have.
That was a last minute one, and it ended up being incredible. This one we're going to plan a little bit better, so we'll give you a heads up.
Yeah, that'd be great because I've never been to Joshua Tree. I drove past it when I took my vacation to drive to Polacon a couple of weeks ago, and I thought about going, but I didn't have enough time. I did like over 8,000 kilometers or 8,000 miles in 2 weeks, so it was a lot of driving.
That's a lot of driving. I've driven my van up to Bend, Oregon, and with my family, and that felt like forever. So that it would have been even further. So I get it really far. But you were in San Diego kind of recently for the NLPU, right?
PLNU.
Point Loma. I'm sorry, PLNU in Point Loma Nazarene.
Yeah. So I was trying to make it down for Jason's opening. I missed it by like an hour and a half, 2 hours because I slept.
No way.
Well, I slept in Albuquerque. I woke up 2 hours later than I was supposed to, and then was like, fuck. And so like I tried to rush as quick as I could from Albuquerque to San Diego, which is the long way to San Diego. And I made it for dinner though, and it was cool. I got to meet the dean and the Davids and Lael that run the photo program at PLNU. And it's a beautiful campus. Like if you're thinking of taking a photography program in San Diego, check out PLNU. The teachers seem really rad. They're still doing a film program there, so they've got like a full darkroom, and they also have a beautiful gallery space there. The Keller Gallery is a really cool gallery.
It's actually, so I work for the Department of Defense, and we work for NAVWAR. So we have offices in Old Town San Diego, which you might be familiar with. We also have campus and space over by Point Loma Nazarene. So some of our offices literally look over the same cliff that they look over. And so I'm really familiar with that area, and it's gorgeous. Okay,
it's beautiful. Like, the morning that I was there was really foggy. But even with the fog, it still looked really cool.
For sure.
And then we went to Bali High for dinner.
Yep.
The opening night. And it was kind of funny because like we're just all kind of talking, and then all of a sudden there was like this earth shattering noise and the building shook, and like, I thought I was gonna shit my pants, and Jason's wife is like, is that an earthquake? And someone's like, nah, that's just a jet fighter taking off. And someone else is like, America. They're just like, there's this beautiful view of the bay, but also right across from the restaurant is
the North Island.
Yeah. And so, we had this really lovely dinner at Bali High that was accentuated with a few jet fighters taking off. And,
Hey, they shot. I think they filmed a little bit of Top Gun there too. They did actually film some Top.
Yeah, it was interesting. The military presence in San Diego was interesting because I never, that was my first time in San Diego. And
you should have told me. Like, you're so close. I mean, like, so close. I get it.
It was a crazy trip, man. Like it was like I wanted to pop into the dark room into San Clemente to see Phil in the gang there. I ended up spending too much time with Grant in Encinitas.
Nice.
But it was nice to catch up with Grant. He's actually got a really cool Polaroid thing going on. Where is it here?
Tell me.
Yeah, let me look it up because he messaged me about it and I was like, well, fuck, I can't get down there in time for it. There's no good flights. But it's like a 20 by 24 Polaroid exhibit of photographers. So it's almost like what Dave Sinadar did in his book, but this was for 20 by 24s. Where is it here? Yeah, so November 5th from 4 to 7 at the Photographer's Eye Gallery.
Saturday?
Yeah, next Saturday. They're doing an open reception for Tim's show Behind Photographs, and they have multiple 20 by 24 Polaroids of photographer legends that Tim shot with their iconic photos and his massive 20 by 24 gallery. It's at 326 East Grand Ave, Escondido, California.
Escondido, yeah.
And it's cool looking. Like, he took these huge photos of, like, this is Grant.
Yeah, that's
holding his huge photo on a 20 by 24.
And Grant's 8 feet tall, so that's big Grant.
Yeah, sure. Grant's 8 feet tall.
Yeah, he's cool. No, he's cool. When he comes to meet up, and it's usually for an Encinitas, he would show up there. Always a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Like, I met him because of the Darkroom Lab thing. When they did that Film Paideia.
Yeah. So the Joshua Tree stuff kind of has like not replaced the Film Paideia, but that's kind of the same. The same kind of ethos, the same kind of community coming together. So, yeah, you got to come out to the next one, and we'll get Grant come out hopefully. Oh, actually, I invited Grant, but it was right after COVID, right? So everybody has their, personal, like, how comfortable they feel for certain things. So some people that we invited just weren't feeling comfortable yet.
He's still being pretty cautious, which I don't blame him because we're not out of the woods yet, and there's weird shit happening all the time in different news. I'm just trying not to watch the news as much.
Between nuclear war and COVID coming back, and I don't know, $8 for Twitter or whatever's going on with the Twitter thing.
Yeah, someone now thinks that Elon Musk is like, the front man for Satan. It's cool. Best timeline ever.
Yeah. But definitely, I saw that you were, in San Diego, kind of after the fact, obviously, and I was like, you're so close. Next time, we'll have you. You got to come for Joshua Tree. We got to make that happen.
Definitely, I would love to, because Joshua Tree and the Salton Sea were two places I wanted to check out, but didn't get a chance to check out on this trip. So
yeah, we'll make that happen, and we'll definitely get it. I'll definitely get an invite in. That's one cool thing about the Leica trip is getting to meet these folks that now I can invite to these events, and I think they'll reply to me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I know Juan, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not a stranger anymore.
Yeah, and I get that. So Joe Greer, meeting him in person and Maddie, whoa, so nice. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, Joe Greer being there was. I suspected it because I actually did a little bit of sleuthing. I was like, we didn't get a list of who's going to show up at the event. But I told Taki, I'm like, you know what? He's not showing up to his opening night in Boston. And I looked at the dates, and I was like, this means he's going to be at Westlar for the opening night for his Boston show. But he is showing up later, and I'm like, that totally makes sense. I'm like, I bet you he's going to be at Westlar. And he was, him and his wife, and just like super sweet, super cool people to talk to. Just like everybody was like super chill. So I told him, I told him, hey, we're having another Joshua Tree event. You got to come out. And I think he, hopefully, cross my fingers, he'll also come out, and a bunch of other people come out. So
That'd be
it's
awesome,
really cool. Yeah. It's just like, again, kind of like that little piece that we had at Leica. It's like communing with folks. It's like no necessary, like no itinerary. We're not there to like show each other up or like do anything. We're just hanging out and being taken along on this ride. So in Joshua Tree, we're like hanging out, we're going to bed, eating, making s'mores, having glizzies or whatever we had last year, hot dogs or whatever, spicy kielbasas, and just waiting on the next like event where we meet up with more of the community, and it was really cool. Yeah, so you gotta come out for that.
I will. Let me know ahead of time. And I appreciate you like spending some time while you're doing your team event tonight.
My event, they're all inside.
Yeah, I should probably let you get back to your...
The boss is outside. No, it's okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. So it was great to talk to you. And I did want to add one last thing.
All right.
This is kind of like a new thing, but we're developing a marketplace.
Okay.
That's kind of cool and different than anything out there. So I don't know if you caught it onto it or anything. It's called Buoy, and it's we're making transactions using the blockchain.
Okay.
And we're selling cool collectible items from like reputable folks that we already buy stuff from. Like Camera West is going to be doing it, and the way we're getting like unique items from them, and then we're pairing it with unique imagery from folks like Trev Lee is going to be supplying some never released photos, and some other. I hope to talk to a ton of other people, yourself included, and have like we're making almost like pretty receipts of it using their imagery as NFTs.
Cool.
This is like the whole, I don't want to be that guy that talks about crypto, the crypto bro or something.
Wait, just you need some music for it. So it's just like, it's the crypto time with Juan. Juan's going to tell you about this new marketplace powered by crypto technology with renowned people behind it selling you products that you want at whatever crypto prices are today. Take it, Juan.
Yeah. So it's been in the works for like well over a year, maybe two. My brother is a crypto person actually, so he's the one to talk about it. But yeah, and then we allow something very cool. So when you purchase something, okay, like if it's an M6 and it's a Grant Brenton unreleased photo, right? Like the frame before the one that made the cover of something. Get it? That NFT is minted along with all these other photos of this M6. We shot with an M6, so a lot of this stuff. And this M6 is sourced by Camera West or KH or something. So you're on our site, and you're like, God, this is like a beautiful M6. It has this beautiful one-off photo from Grant Brenton, right? I can buy it. This is the price, and it's in crypto, and we're making a change to allow credit card payments. Anyways, okay. But then once it's in your account, you have an option to like, it doesn't default to actually getting mailed to you. So that's not the default setting. So when you buy it, we're not mailing it off to you yet. You actually have to go in and right-click on your NFT and say ship to me or burn or buoy or whatever, and we'll ship it to you. But the reason we do that is because then it allows you to choose when you get the item, but also flip it. Does this make any sense? So let's say there's a really cool Hasselblad that has a story and whatever, and that's so like go back to the Grant Brenton thing. Grant Brenton image, M6, you buy it, you already have an M6, you've invested some money in crypto or whatever, and you're like, I want to get out of like Doge, and I want to put some of that money into something like film cameras. As we all know, they've all pretty much increased in value. So you can reinvest some of that money into that. And then, but you're like, I actually don't need it at home. It comes from Camera West. I know it's a good camera. I've seen the photos of it. I actually just kind of want it to flip or to resell later or to just have as part of my collection, part of my like investment portfolio, if you will. But we're going to be selling watches, cameras, and gems at first in this way, and then we're going to have a metaverse store eventually. So this is sorry, whatever. But eventually, you walk in with your AR goggles, and you go in our metaverse store, and you pick out this M6, and then you're going to get airdropped a 3D version of your M6 that's tied to your physical one that you own. So you as your avatar can literally hold your 3D M6. Right? And when you take your goggles off and you go to have dinner with your family, you're like, actually own this M6 that I have in this virtual world that comes from Leica Store San Francisco or Camera West, and that like they haven't sent to me yet, but I can have it sent to me, next day air type of thing. So extrapolate that how you will, but that's what we've actually created. And we're trying to market that soon, and we created a token too, and blah blah blah. I can go on for days, but that's kind of actually a lot of like our focus for BNC has actually been on, because it's run by such a small group, is that marketplace doing something different for the community. And eBay has like really sucked because you get charged. I mean, I sold a camera for $5,000 on eBay, and I made $4,100 out of the $5,000, and it like was like painful. I'm like, are you kidding me? And the person paid tax on top, so they paid $5,400. I made $4,100. It just, you know what I mean? It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's messed up. I think the biggest question is though, for that virtual Leica, will you be able to buy Portra for it?
Oh, I don't know. That's its own NFT at like $18 a roll, right? So.
Well, I mean, Kodak tried to get in the NFT game, so maybe you got to get them back in on it so you can sell some virtual Portra for all these virtual Leicas that are going to be floating around the metaverse.
True. But the thing is, we're doing like we're tying this like digital NFT, digital token to a physical asset, which is not, it's that idea isn't new, but we've actually, so the secret is, or not the secret, but we actually have this marketplace already done. Like it's hidden and under maintenance page, but it works. And me and my brother have like sold each other stuff. So it's kind of cool. I think there's a lot of possibility there. And I think it's, if you can go to one page to buy from Retro, Photo York, KEH, whoever you want to put into this mix of reputable dealers, and you can like price different cameras, and then you can also, you're going to be pulled, your heartstrings will be pulled because we're going to be telling a story. Like this camera comes with this NFT art from a certain photographer that you might be into. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's like value there too. So it's going to be, I think it's kind of exciting. We're very excited about it. So we'll see. We'll have to rope you in. I can talk to you later about it if you're interested at all.
Yeah, definitely. Hit me up. I'd like to hear more about it. It does sound interesting.
Yeah, interesting at least. Something different for the community.
I have to admit that I'm very not hip with the blockchain. I remember friends telling me, like friends like fucking 10 years ago plus were like, oh, you got to get this Bitcoin miner and check out my mining rig in my basement. And I'm like, whatever, nerd. And then they made like huge bank, and I'm like, fuck. I should have listened to these guys.
Dude, I feel your pain. My brother is the guy who's invested, and I saw his phone. He was on his phone a lot over Christmas or something. I said, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just looking over my portfolio. And I'm like, and I saw a number, and I was like, holy shit, what does that mean? He's like, well, that's how much. Actually, he's like, no, I actually have more than this. I'm like, that's how much you have? Like, that's how much your portfolio is worth? And it actually bothered me for like a good 3 days. Because I'm like, how did you make so much money off of this and not, like, let me know? But he was into this, like you're saying, like, years ago, right? When he used to bug me about it as we're going out with friends and doing other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But he was right, like, potentially. Right now, there's a slump, but it's going to come back, I think. But yeah, he's got a portfolio, and he's my expert. I don't know anything about crypto. I know from what he's taught me, but everything I know, I'm just kind of leveraging more of my relationships with vendors and stuff.
That makes sense.
In the industry to kind of, that's where I'm at. That's my little rice bowl, and he's actually can talk to crypto talk. And then my father-in-law is an investor, and he just thinks everything's fun and great and just like sees potential. So he's like, I want to do this, and I want to help you guys make it happen. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm down to learn more about it. Hit me up sometime.
For sure, I will do that.
Cool. Well, thank you for hanging out with me. I should let you get back to your team there. They're probably wondering
They're still here.
where the boss man's at. But
yeah, thank you so much,
dude. No, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. And you have any last comments to say to everyone before we sign off here?
I appreciate what you're doing. Actually, I appreciate this podcast. I appreciate all the work you're putting into it. I totally appreciate. I know what it's like to do something and have your heart, put your heart into it, and you're doing that. And so it's very evident. And keep at it, man.
Thanks,
very
man.
Cool.
Definitely.
I will see you in Joshua Tree, though.
Yes, let me know about that because I would love to come to Joshua Tree.
Okay.
So.
Cool.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm going to let Mr. Mocha walk us out here. And next week, I'm going to have Iris Sagata with us. We tried to get her on a little while back. She's a photographer from New York, so she's finally going to be joining us on the chat here. And
very cool.
Other than that, stay safe out there. Try and have fun and don't be dicks to each other,
100%.
And I hope all of you guys have a great weekend. All right. Take care, man.
Later, man.